Welcome back to the Business Corner. I'm your host, Teresa Lundy, and today I have the incredible Sharmain Matlock-Turner with us on the Business Corner. Sharmain, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Teresa. I really appreciate being here. And congratulations to you for all of the great work that you've done.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a great team. We just celebrated 10 years.
Wonderful.
But we're here to talk about you. And for the last 26 years, you have served as president and CEO of the Urban Affairs Coalition, an organization that, one, I've been inspired by, and I think others know about it. But for those who don't, tell us a little bit about your impact and leadership and how you've grown it to this scale.
Well, the Urban Affairs Coalition is a wonderful civic organization founded right here in the city of Philadelphia by the fantastic Charles Bowser, who was a wonderful, wonderful lawyer here in Philadelphia, had served as deputy mayor, and after the assassination of Dr. King, he and others came together right at 12th and Market Street at what many of us know in my age group as the old PSFS building, and really said, is there more work that we can do together than we can separately? People were angry, divided. It might even have been sort of like the times that we're dealing with today, a lot of division. And he said, no, let's try to figure out a way to bring people together. So initially we started as a place to have conversations, to talk about concerns, and to start talking about how can we solve some of those problems. So here we are 56 years later after that founding, having an organization that still is a place for us to solve problems, for people to come together, work together, because we definitely believe that we can get more done together than we can separately.
You know, it's one of the things that I've always admired about the organization of you bringing people together from all walks. I know the Urban Affairs Breakfast is an annual event, and
right around the corner.
Oh my gosh!
As a matter of fact, Teresa, it's going to be on my birthday this year too. By the way, so you've got to be there.
So it's going to be some surprise guests. Okay, so get your tickets now. But I also think it's like estimated. It looks like 1,000 people are in that room, right?
There are, yes.
Okay, so so every year I've never came and it's like less than, right? And so I think that also caters a lot to your leadership style. So tell us a little bit about that and how you've been able to keep bridging that gap and building coalitions.
Well, my leadership style has been from, I think, almost since I was like a little kid. I was like the one who, sort of like led the line, not because I said, okay, I want to be a leader, but just because I'm a doer. And so when something needed to be done, people might be talking about it, and I would say, hey, come on, let's go ahead and do it. I always laugh with my family. I used to go to Virginia every summer. My grandparents lived there right outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. And there was this mountain that was behind our house, and I said, oh, dag, I want to cross that mountain, because there was a store on the other side.
Yeah.
And I ultimately convinced my friends and my sister that we were going to cross that mountain and get over to the other side. So my leadership style is about challenging myself and engaging others to say, I know we can get this done. Come on, we can take on some of these challenges, but let me also know what barriers that you see with us being able to cross this mountain. Maybe we need to go down this trail as opposed to that trail. So I also believe in being a good listener as well as being a doer and willing to take some chances and some risk.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about some of the programs that you and UAC is doing as well as its partners.
Right. Well, number one, just to let folks know, one of the things that the Urban Affairs Coalition started after its founding under our third executive director, Ernie Jones, was to really say, there are people in communities who really want to work on programs and really want to work on initiatives. And we aren't just advocates. So a lot of times people, when you sort of see the pictures from the 60s and 70s, you see us as being advocates, you see us as marching, you see us as talking, but we were also doing. And yet the systems weren't in place for us to be able to build structures around that. Yes, we had churches, yes, we had some businesses, but our social service network was not strong. And so the coalition said, wait a minute, let's be a home for nonprofits. Let's help nonprofits in our community grow. We'll figure out the business structure. So we'll make sure we have all of the finances together. We'll understand all the legal rules. You know, how do we make sure we have the right insurance policies? How do we make sure that all the rules and regulations about hiring people fairly, making sure they get paid, you know, a couple times a month. Let's get all of those things done and make sure that we can offer them for some fee to nonprofits so that they don't have to worry about making sure that those things are done. They can focus on their mission and they can focus on the resources they need to drive that mission.
You know, that's a huge deal. You know, as I talk to small nonprofits, and, you know, the vision is always bigger than the back end of the office, right? And, you know, I actually point them to directions like where UAC has been going for the last 50 years because you guys have it. Like, you know what it is. If there's a big contract on the table, you're like, you won't lose out. Come work with us, and we'll make sure that you're quality and fit for the job.
Right, absolutely. When I got to the coalition, we had about 20 groups and organizations. We've had projects between 50 and 70.
Wow.
And right now we have 50 organizations and projects. And in this time of real pressure on the not-for-profit industry, I'm getting a list of people who are calling and saying, I want to know more. I want to know whether or not this business model may help to strengthen my organization. And I say, okay, give me a call. Let's see what we can ultimately do together. But that really sort of not only helps to strengthen those organizations, but it creates a space for us to share information, for us to work effectively together, and then to promote those organizations in the broader community. One of the ones that I love to talk about because I had a chance to sort of see it started is One Day at a Time.
Yeah.
I was working for then State Senator Roxanne Jones. I was her chief of staff. We were at 22nd and Allegheny, and this gentleman comes in named Reverend Wells and says, okay, I want to do something more for the community. I've got people who are homeless and who have drug and alcohol problems. It was also during the height of or certainly the push of the crack epidemic. And so he came in. I got a chance to work with him through my job in the Senate. He then went to Ernie Jones. We made those introductions, and he became a part of the coalition. And then when he passed away, we were able to support his son, Mel Wells.
Absolutely.
So we were able to help with that transition. And now One Day at a Time is the largest nonprofit that is a part of the coalition family.
I work with them. I know their work. They truly, especially Mel from his whole team, have a true calling for those, not only in North Philadelphia, but I do see it expanding. So definitely appreciate that. And I think, you know, as we talk about like these unprecedented times, you know, UAC, you know, I think you just talked about the journey of, you know, even though, you know, his beloved father passed, it now goes to his son. So we're talking about generational wealth and support. And so what does UAC look like in the next 3 to 5 years as we talk about, you know, those journeys with other nonprofits?
Well, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we see ourselves as being needed more than ever because there is a sense of, you know, re-examining our sector. Where do we consolidate? I've had a chance to speak on panels where we've been talking about merger acquisition. I tell people when I talk about strategic partnering, UAC is actually a merged organization. In 1992, the Greater Philadelphia Partnership, the Urban Coalition came together. Ernie Jones, Dr. Bernard Anderson, who was leading the other organization, came together to create the Greater Philadelphia Urban Affairs Coalition. I just came in and shortened the title a little bit. It was kind of long, right?
Yeah.
But again, we had a very successful merger for those two organizations. So we let people in our community know that when you change your structure, it's not because you've done something bad.
Right.
It can be because you're really doing something really smart. And that's what we want the community to know, that we want you to continue to develop programs and initiatives. I'm not one of those people who say, oh, there are too many nonprofits. What I say is we can be smart about establishing nonprofits so we can make sure that we're strategically partnering to get the work done. There's a lot of conversations going on in Philadelphia. There's a new report out, you may have had a chance to see it, Teresa, that was funded by Pew, which is done by Brookings. And it's saying, look, there are some real opportunities for Philadelphia to really have economic mobility really be real. We've got to look not only at the city, we've got to look at the region, and the politics haven't always been easy for us to do that. But I think if we're going to get the jobs that we want here, for people to be able to have family-sustaining jobs, if we're going to see companies grow, we're going to need to say, what are the strengths within our region, and then how can we make sure we're really advancing those opportunities? So we see UAC as being a part of that regional strategy and saying, let's make sure that we are growing and that we're really finding those opportunities for people in our communities.
I love that. And so what advice would you give to those nonprofit and business leaders? I know I've seen you so many times at these roundtable discussions, and you're not one that's silent. So I absolutely love that, because I'm also taking notes, right, as another small business leader growing in this space. So what advice would you give to other small businesses, other nonprofit leaders that is looking to make an impact in the Philadelphia region?
Well, I would say partner and communicate. That is, to me, is absolutely number one. We helped to establish the Black Nonprofit CEO organization. I think when I talked to Kelly this week, we're up to about 250 members.
Oh, wow.
So we have been able to bring Black CEOs together, and this came out of a report that we did over 5 years ago, where we took a look at our sector and said, what is it that we can do? And again, we felt as if a big part of that was we were siloed. So I would say certainly the African American Chamber is an important place to be. Some of the other chambers as well are important places to be, and to make sure that you are looking at the opportunities that exist in government and talking to those of us who are putting together structures. You may know one of the initiatives that we have is the Economic Development Projects Unit. That was built from the idea that there was a protest at Temple University when they were building the Temple University Hospital. And the community said, why are all the people who are working on this project have license plates from New Jersey, and they don't look like me, or they aren't from my block?
Right.
And Carl Singley and Ernie Jones looked at how can we change that. And with the Bakke decision coming down from the Supreme Court, which outlawed quotas, you could take affirmative action, but you could not do quotas. How could you structure a process to make sure that we're looking at real opportunities for minority, women-owned, and disabled-owned businesses? And the way to do that was to really look at the market and say, okay, if you're in business and there are 20 of you, but there's only 2 of those businesses ever engaged in this project, we're missing out on some real talent. How can we engage you, and how can we bring you in? And from that design, we've worked with Temple University. We've probably done almost every construction project with the University of Penn. We're now working with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia on their new construction project. All of the stadiums we worked on as well, so we'll see if we're going to get any new stadiums in Philadelphia. But I would say stay engaged, but also give back. You know, reach back, find those young people who are going to be the next generation. And we do that through our summer youth employment program, where we have over 200 businesses that we work with every year to engage young people. And the good thing is that, of course, the young person is getting some experience or getting a little bit of money, but you know the most important thing they get is a relationship where now I know Teresa, and now, you know, Teresa, I'm thinking about getting a certification in this.
Come on over.
You know, could
I'll
I
help you
come
out.
with you? I mean, you know, so now I have maybe relationships that I don't have within my family network, or I don't have within my neighborhood network. And so that, again, is an important part of what I think businesses can do. Communicate, connect, and make sure you're creating opportunities for the next generation, because they are going to do tremendous, tremendous things.
I love it. I heard 3 solid terms that I have to repeat for our audience: partner, engage, and give back. If you listen to those 3 words of wisdom from Sharmain, we need a whole hour with you. So, but I want to thank you so much for coming on the Business Corner. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for being a pillar in this Philadelphia region.
And thank you so much for doing this and sharing. This is a part of what, really, really makes a difference. I'm absolutely committed. I'm passionate, but I'm going to stay curious to figure out what can we do next and how can we do it better.
We can do it together.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.